Mike Pastor here. I'm going to continue talking a little bit about means, finish some topics up that we didn't talk about in class. So what I want to discuss right now is a topic called weighted means. So weighted means, and the definition for this is a weighted mean equals essentially the weighting term times our piece of data plus our second weighting term times the second piece of data plus our third weighting term times the third piece of data, dot, 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 all the way out, and this should be a 3, all the way out to some x weight w sub n, x sub n. And then you take all those and you divide them by the sum of all the weights. Same mistake there, dot, 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 wn. That gives you a mean based on the weighting of each term. Now, let's talk about this in an example to make this maybe a little. And a good example we could use is your grades. So, for example, right now we've had an exam, and we've had 3 quizzes. Our exams overall are worth 60% of the grade, so an individual exam is worth 15%. So the weighting term is 0.15. Likewise, our quizzes are worth 20%, but because we're going to have so many of them, our quizzes end up only being worth about 1.6. 1.6% each, and that essentially is a 0.16 as a decimal. So each of these are 1.6, and each of these weighting terms are 0.16. 0.016. So if you want to calculate what your grade is at this point, first you need to know what you scored on these. So suppose you scored an 89 on the exam, you got 100 maybe on this quiz, you got a 98 maybe on this quiz, and you got a 70 on that quiz. You didn't do too well in the third quiz for some reason. So we would use our weighting terms and set this up. So for example, we could go 0.15, and actually, let me give myself some room here. Our weighted mean equals 0.15 times 89 plus 0.016 times 100 plus 0.016 times 98 plus 0.016, stick with the parentheses here, times 70. So those are our 4 scores multiplied by the weighting of each score. Then we divide the total by 0.15 plus 0.16 plus 0.16 plus 0.016. This should be a 0.16 here too. So 1, 2, 3. And if you pull your calculator out and you were to add and multiply these terms in the numerator and divide it by the sum of the denominator, you're going to end up with a overall grade of 89.1. That's how you can calculate your grade actually in this class. Okay. Now, we can also apply this sort of idea to frequency distributions, for example. Now, this is a frequency distribution I copied from the book, example 3.3. It's miles run per week. And you can see we have a number of classes here, and we have a frequency distribution. So what we can do is we can use the frequency distribution as the weights if I wanted to find an average for these terms. But then we have to come up with a single number representing each class, and a good idea may be just to use the midpoint. The midpoint of each of our classes. So for example, in this case, the midpoint for the first is 8, and you can figure these midpoints out on your own to check, double check. 13 for the second class, 18 for the third class, 23, 28, 33, and 38. So, using the same idea, we can multiply, if we're going to take our frequencies as weights, we can multiply the frequency by the midpoint to get a weighted term. So, frequency times mid, I guess I'll write here. So we end up with 1 times 8 is 8, 2 times 13 is 26. This is 54, 54, 115, and you can double check these results. That's a 54, not a 64. 112. When I write on this pad, it makes my writing look like I'm drawing with a crayon, and I'm a small child, so excuse the sloppiness of it. And 76. So we need to get two sums here, because if you recall, for our weighted mean, it was the sum of our weighted terms, our weights, times our values divided by the sum of our weights. So if we're going to take frequencies as our weighted term, then we need to sum this up, and you can see here that n equals 20, and then frequency times, so this is going to be the numerator, this column is going to end up being the numerator. You sum all that up, it's 490, so we get 490 divided by 20, and this ends up turning out to be 24.5 miles. So refer to your book for more details on this, and I'll catch you in the next video.